Well, there you go. Let's talk about Dheepan, one of the 2 Tyneside cinema films that we saw this week.
Yeah.
So Ryan, you did come and see this, but,
Yeah, but
it was kind of the start of you being unwell.
Yeah, that was just I stayed away for like an hour or so. I think,
yeah, and of course I booked you the separate seat, didn't I?
Yeah, because you're horrible people.
Well, no, because you.
It was even worse.
It probably was actually.
Yeah.
Because
I couldn't do nothing.
Yeah, that's kind of why I put him on his own though, so we didn't have to do it.
Karma.
He's snored through the whole thing.
I was so tempted to just like throw 5p like off your head.
So
let's just get on with Dheepan.
A film that's been waiting for a long time now, especially Joe.
So he must be very disappointed
to
have missed it.
Well, but yeah, it was the winner of the Palme d'Or at the 2015 Cannes Film Festival.
Yeah.
New film from the director Jacques Audiard.
Yeah,
Audiard. Prophets, which I watched earlier in the week, which is amazing. I really like that film. Really think it's a properly entertaining, intense thriller. And this time it's basically a Tamil soldier who's on the losing side of a civil war in Sri Lanka. He basically has to pose as a husband and father of 2 other refugees in order to escape their homeland back in Sri Lanka. They go to France, where this makeshift family sets about establishing a new life, only to find themselves again getting involved in violence and the dodgy underworld business in the streets of Paris.
Yes.
Now, do you think this was worth the wait after?
Yeah, I mean, you look at the films that it beat for Palme d'Or, and it's incredible, isn't it? Like Son of Saul, Carol. It was the Coen brothers who were on the jury that year. They chose winner, and I think it was last week on Robbie Collin. He was saying it's quite a neutral choice. Like it doesn't take like a stance or anything like that. Their decision was interesting, I guess.
Yeah.
I really like Dheepan, and I think it reminded me a bit of Lahane, obviously with it being set in that same kind of setting to have that kind of council estate.
Yeah, it's like what do they call it?
In France they call it a banlieue.
Banlieue.
Yeah. And then because of Lahane, I obviously thought Girlhood as well. Both the films kind of put people like under the microscope in this kind of interesting location where a lot of crime goes down. These kind of films that explore these kind of issues we don't really have that in the UK. Like we have like crime and we have council estates, but we don't have it to the extent that these kind of films have. So it's interesting to kind of see this story. The thing I like, I mean, it's a really, really gripping film. I just felt very interested in that. That's the biggest bit of praise I can give to the film. It is thoroughly interesting. I think the performances really make it what it is as well. I haven't got the actor's name.
I can't think of the actress's name, but she was phenomenal. I think this is the first film as well.
Yeah, she was phenomenal. I mean, she's the character's in her 20s.
Yeah.
And she has to she has to play a mother and she has to play a wife when she's kind of not either of those things. The kind of things that these characters have been through means that the thing that they have to do, the way that they have to get across to a different country is obviously terrifying. And then when they get to this new country of France, it's not what they hoped.
I mean, her character as well, she's was it a cousin in England, and she's like she wants to go there, but obviously she can't because she hasn't got the papers and all that type of stuff, and that creates a kind of tension within it as well. Even though like she's having to act as a parent, which doesn't really I mean, obviously you kind of stick with the characters, and that's probably the most enjoyable part of the film, just to see how these characters interact and try and like cope with obviously the stuff that happened in Sri Lanka, and then having to basically pretend to be this family. And as well as this, so obviously they live in the kind like around the criminal kind of sites and stuff like that. And it's just fascinating to watch them kind of interact with other other characters from France, because you see the language barriers and you see them as well as this trying to still act up as the family.
Well, it's a really great scene when they're in the office when they first come across, and the translator he knows Dheepan, and they get talking about what's actually happened, and he just says it, and it's quite a powerful moment, isn't it? Like he literally says what has happened to him. Even the translator changes it.
It's fascinating, even that, because obviously they try and get the girl to school because normalcy, and she's the only one that can kind of speak French, and they do the basic interactions with the characters, and it's fascinating how it's kind of, you get that from her as well, from the child's perspective, because as soon as she says, "Oh, have you been to school before?" She shakes her head like this is the principal, and she asks what happened, and all she can see is burnt. It's really effective.
And like, burnt by who? Like the government.
Like,
what do you think about the ending? We can't really talk about the end, but I will say that it is quite a just sort of tonal shift, because it becomes like an action film, doesn't it, by the end? Yeah,
basically. I mean, Dheepan, obviously the kind of little things, the tensions rise between, Dheepan, because he's the janitor and he's kind of all seeing all this like criminal activity and stuff like that, and little things keep on popping up, like he gets into, like a little fight.
Yeah.
Like, because I think it's the rival gangs have like a mini kind of war, and they're just kind of caught in between. It's obviously it's like a civil war again, basically, isn't it? From Sri Lanka, and it's happened again. But the tonal shift I don't know. This is the only thing that I'm kind of like wary about.
It's weird because it feels like sort of jarring, doesn't
it?
Yeah,
like, I mean it works. Cause the end, I think the ending's fine, but it's just
I did like it.
The only little problem I have is just like, even though it does kind of build the tension, it
maybe it doesn't build to that.
Yeah, I think maybe an extra 10, 20 of like, you know, just kind of seeing more of that kind of like new civil war between the gangs and like kind of more effective that would have been. But it's jarring, but I think it still works because obviously you see Dheepan has to basically be a soldier again, even though he kind of wants his peaceful life, you know.
I think it's a really, really interesting piece of work, and I'm really looking forward to watching Audiard's other work, because it's the first one I've seen of his, but I know he's got a really
I mean, as well as that as well, with Audiard, you know, you get the kind of good, brilliant, phenomenal camera work. You get that. You get as well the kind of poetic sensibilities that I had with The Prophet. Like in between them, you'll have this kind of like, just it'll fade to black. Then just have like Dheepan's kind of recollections of like Sri Lanka in the sense of like an elephant and stuff like that. But yeah, it's a really gripping film, which I was absolutely loving it.
I'm completely the same. And Ryan, you've got to go see it when you're feeling better. You've got a lot of catching up to, haven't you? But there you go. That's just how it is. It's annoying. It's three films that you've been quite looking forward to.
You know,
it's just cruel, isn't it?
Better that than death.
I feel your pain. Well, obviously I don't like physically, but I've been there before.
Yeah,
it's not nice.
I get you.
Anyway, so that was the first film we saw in Audible Bill on Saturday, back to back, and that's when Ryan, you that's when I throw the towel in. I don't blame you. You looked terrible, and now you look like bright red. See, that could easily be like a symptom. But
I'm just really angry.
Yeah.